We are back.
Frozen hand.
Frozen hand is a thing now, you know. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome back to another exciting week of the Penalty Box Live, baby. I want to just throw that on and give a little shout out to Tim for the Penalty Box Live gear. You can get you one of these. Just got to message Tim. They're pretty cool. One size fits all. Surprisingly, it probably fits Wes's head tremendously. It's a little shade big for. Oh, there we go. Shade big for me, but I love it nonetheless. And just got to fix my hair back up. Excited to have David Horsager on today. New book out yesterday that I will be downloading and talking about in a few minutes. But as always, shots on goal. You're up first, sir.
Well, good to see you, Eric.
You too, brother.
I went through some withdrawals. I don't think I've actually spoken to you in like 2 or 3 days. So that's you must be busy. I had a couple shots on goal here, and they were probably, if anyone listens and gets the email every day, The Hustle, which is pretty awesome. They had some great stats about things that happened during COVID that really, hurt people and stuff. When I talk to, about, childcare costs going up and, people working in their house, but, I just can't get past the hatred I'm having right now for LinkedIn. So I have to say something.
Do it. I already know what it is, but do it.
Oh my God. I've been with him for years. I probably have a couple thousand, connections. They seem to hit my credit card every single month, but twice in the last year, my profile has disappeared. And I didn't know if you guys knew this, and probably if you go back through one of the previous penalty boxes in the shots on goal, you'll hear me complain about the only way to get a hold of LinkedIn is to tweet at them, right?
Right.
14 days in a row. 14 days in a row, I've tweeted at them. Finally, I get an email back from someone who says, based on your email that you gave us and your phone number, we can't find your account. I'm like, well, you can find my credit card, no problem. So, So anyway, so I'm still dealing with that, and the timing couldn't be worse. I'm partnering in another company, and we're about 15 days away from launching, and I really need it up so that I can be connecting with some influencers. So if anyone has any power, and knows anyone in LinkedIn, please have them reach out. Bryn Tillman couldn't help me, and honestly, I don't think if she can't help me, anyone can. So I have a bunch of hatred. I'm starting off my shots on goal with a boatload of hatred, and I will save all of these delicious stats that I have here for next week. You're up.
Uh-oh. You're frozen for a second. Well, I'll throw out. I don't know if this is shot on goal, an empty netter, or if this is just. Let's not even lace them up and play. But Bud Light has rolled out Bud Light Seltzer Pizza flavored.
What?
There it is.
That's gotta be a joke.
It's on their page. You can get veggie, you can get pepperoni, extra cheese, Bud Light Seltzer flavored pizza flavored seltzer. What's next?
I saw a Pepsi Peeps. The Peeps for Easter?
Yep. Yeah. Yuck. I'm not a fan of Peeps. Comment over here if you're a fan of Peeps. I'd love to hear your comment. Shot on goal to Michael Strahan, who had the gap in his teeth that was like a giant sieve. There was basically no goalie, right? But he got that fixed this week.
Why?
And now because he wanted to. It was interesting because the video with him said, you know what? I'm 50 years old. And he said, I've quietly kind of always hated it. Even though it was kind of a signature thing for him, right. He went ahead and got it fixed, and he said he didn't tell anybody he was doing it. He just did it because he wanted to do it because he knew if he told his manager, his other people, he knew that they would talk him out of it. And he looks great. So
is that akin to Streisand fixing your nose?
Probably so.
Okay.
Probably so. I don't know if a lot of people know who Barbara Streisand is anymore. Is she even relevant? Is she alive?
I think so.
Okay. I got a couple more. You got any more shots on goal?
I'm done.
Okay. The Boston Celtics are pathetic. Like they're like one loss away from not even making playoffs. 4-6 in their last 10 games. They just made a trade for a guy who they can't even bring in because I guess he's in COVID protocol, which is a joke. Like not that COVID protocol is a joke, but it's a joke. They traded for a guy that can't even get him to play, and they're not good. They had a team meeting last week we're gonna fix this, and they've gone 1-4 since, and it just pathetic. I did want to throw out a happy Easter to everyone. We've got Easter this week, and I don't want to get too much into people's views on the world and all that stuff. But happy Easter to everyone. And my last shot on goal is, I don't know if you can hear it, but bats cracking and smell of the grass. Baseball season's right around the corner.
Ugh, don't care.
Stop it.
Don't
Stop
care.
it. Stop
Don't
it.
care.
Stop it. Stop it. Anyway, I'm excited for baseball season. I'm ready for it to get here. So I guess without further ado, because he doesn't have a lot of time, let's get our guest, David Horsager, on here, who has a new book coming out that was out yesterday. There he is. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. Good to be here. Since all the hockey analogies got to, get from the state of hockey here in Minnesota, I just got to do a shout out that the Frozen Four has 3 Minnesota teams out of 4.
They still play the Frozen Four?
What's that?
They still play the Frozen Four?
Well, the Final Four in hockey. Yeah, there you go. So, but and one of them, I don't know if you caught this. Not that the 5 UMD and UND had 5 overtimes, which was another forever games. But every kid grows up playing on the pond. But anyway,
I want to kick this off with asking you. I do the deep dive stuff, right? And I found a picture of you with about 100 like 4-H pins or ribbons that you won.
Where did you find that at?
Can you talk about all of those? And then B, I'm really curious because I love kids that are in 4-H and band and football and extracurricular stuff. What do you still take from 4-H that you subconsciously or even consciously think about today?
I'll tell you something. I can give credit to a lot of things, my parents' faith, growing up, all this, but 4-H youth development transformed me, gave me opportunity. I didn't obviously know this question was coming. They just inducted me into, what do they call it? Some really cool legacy thing out at the Washington, D.C. National 4-H Center. 4-H youth development, for me, even though I grew up on the farm, a lot of people just think ag and agriculture or whatever. I went through the leadership track. The reason I get to speak around the world today is because of 4-H. I won of 2,000 kids. I can tell you the story. I won our state and won a free trip to Israel because it was sponsored by, they had a sponsor, the Jewish Community Relations Council and Anti-Defamation League. But I lost. I got second at the county, but the top 2 go forward. I got second in districts, the top 2 go forward. I got second in regions, the top 2 go forward. Finally, my dad said, you could win this.
You're allowed.
I got 5. I was an athlete, so I didn't want to I wasn't in speech at school. But turned out I was a decent speaker, but I just wasn't in speech. I didn't want lips on my Letterman jacket. I wanted football, So I said, but I went, this is the power of coaching and learning and growing is I went to the speech coach and I said, can you watch this speech? Kindly, he did it. I went to every pastor of every church that lived close by. Hey, pastor, will you watch it? Ones we didn't even go to church there. I mean, I had this pastor, 5 different speech coaches, the town next to a speech coach. And I went to state and beat everybody I had lost to and then everyone else. But that was monumental for me in several ways, a lesson of learning of some things there that you can get better at. But there's a whole lot more in 4-H that I could talk about, the learning of responsibility and leadership. I ended up being the state president for youth, the federation president, they call it, for Minnesota. 4-H youth development, people say, at least we believe it started in Minnesota, and there's so many things that happened to me, especially growing up in the poorest county in Minnesota, and the opportunities I had for international travel. For my siblings got to go on international trading. What do they call host? like my sister went over for a half year to Norway, and my other sister went to
Or an
Australia.
exchange.
Yeah, exchange. Saying we had in our home in this pretty tiny community, my parents had in. We were supposed to have the first one person from Russia, and that got closed again at that time. But we had Taiwanese and Japanese, and we just got such a big perspective. Not to mention the leadership opportunities. So that's an interesting launch pad I haven't thought about for a while. But boy, was it a powerful place for me to learn, especially about leadership. And I can say I would not be where I am without 4-H. And football and band, by the way.
Wow, well-rounded.
I was as captain. Well, when you're one of 29 students in a 9-man football town, pretty easy to be captain, which I was. But here's the interesting side note to that is I played, and I give credit in my first book to him in Trust Edge. I played for the winningest coach in the state of Minnesota, and he still coaches.
Wow.
And unbelievable coach. And at the same time, where we won about every game in football every year, I was also captain of the basketball team, and we were 1-19 in basketball senior year.
Wow. So it was a football school.
It was football school.
So were you the quarterback, star linebacker, and kicker?
That was a lot. You played every which way on 9-man.
You have to.
My sport, I was fullback, a little leaner than I am now. Maybe not leaner, but I definitely had more a little more weight in the muscle in the lifting category. I was all state for linebacker. So, but you played both ways. So, yep.
So David, you clearly are an underachiever in life, and I say that with a sense of humor. I took a deep dive as well, and
I can take anything. By the way, come on.
Going back through some of your previous podcasts and YouTubes, we're part of and I want to promote your book that just came out yesterday, I believe. We're part of.
I want to know where you found the 4-H pictures still. I mean, I like you probably deep dive more than me than I've found it myself. It's like, what else did you find? I mean, I've only been married to one wife.
Just wait.
All right, Tim.
No, it's all good. We're part of a Megamind group, a mastermind group called Megamind, and it's been an amazing, group of 24 or so people that help us get through a pandemic. And we're all like exercising and eating right and pumping each other up, and the whole thing of 21 days in a row, makes a change of habit. I don't think you believe in that, right? So
no,
can you tell us a little about your philosophy on that, as well as what you call your seeds strategy?
Happily. And by the way, and I'm not saying it's easy, but 10 years ago, I lost 52 pounds in 5 months and have kept it off. And I'm not saying, this is a lot of other people. I'm not taking the credit for everything. I mean, but I will say that that beats that basically Biggest Loser, which has like 126 people that have been through that and look great, and only 6 of them have kept it off after 2 years later. So that's not a good method. So what was the first question before I hit seeds?
It was the 21 days.
Well, basically, that the problem is we had some motivational speakers that skewed the evidence from the 1950s, and then 1960 psychocybernetics came out. By the way, to be fair, that's reasonable research, but some people skewed that by looking at it and wanting, that we're such a instant gratification world more and more. And the problem is you got to do the work, and it is true. You can get addicted to crack in 21 days, but so habits can change. I hear, but I will tell you, most habits take more work. And even that evidence, that research, that original research that people have skewed and said everything happens in 21 days, most of it would say 90 days is a sweet spot, but it actually, much of it is even longer than up to about 300 days for certain habit change, as far as what the research shows. So the bottom line is, it's not, if you get in it and it's like, you think it's going to be a quick fix or 21 days and you change everything. I'm not saying 21 days can't do something, but it's not everything. 90 is a much better frame for thinking as far as most habit change. 90 tends to be much more, because you can change a neural pathway in 90 days. So you have a much more of a chance at long-term change at 90. And that's true for me. When I lost the weight even, And it was 90 days when I couldn't lose 52 pounds in 90, but in a healthy way, I don't think. But in 90, by then I was like, wow, this has changed. Okay, this has changed. Yes, I'm still going to have ice cream, but this has changed.
Right. And talk about your seeds strategy.
Yeah. So basically, my wife and I were looking at, we see all these. I speak at about 100 events around the world for the last 20 years, probably. And we'd see people go to events and get all motivated and excited. And I'm going to go change the world. And they never would. Most people don't. And in fact, I'll ask people in audiences, hey, how many of you would ever wanted to change a habit? Like a hard one. It's losing 25 pounds or more, this or this or this, off cigarettes, whatever they got. Everybody hands will go up. Then I ask, how many ever have 6% about have actually changed a habit? It's so difficult to change a habit. Many don't. And there's more strategies than seeds. But Lisa and I were started looking at this and thinking, it seems like those that actually are able to do great things and actually able to actually change a habit we call it, planted their seeds and cultivated their seeds. And so the seed stands for S is sleep. It turns out we need it. We last couple decades, a lot of leaders would be like, and I'm like this too. Oh, I don't need sleep. I only need 5 hours. I don't know. Oh yeah, we get ego about it. Oh, well, you only need 5 hours. I haven't slept for 7 years. It's whatever. We actually need sleep. And in fact, waistlines, anchor levels, a lot of things are controlled by sleep. You want to change a habit, get enough sleep. The first E is exercise. And I'm not going to start running marathons like my wife, but I did learn to move a little more. You can see right now, those that are watching, I'm standing. I almost never sit down. I have
You're very like this too. Is that normal for you?
Are
you just super excited?
I'm so excited with Eric.
I watched you with Joe Soto, and you were just like this. So
I don't know.
Just like
I'm in the same spot. I did have a little bit of coffee today. I've been on a lot of TV and radio interviews today, so maybe anyway. I have a walking desk. I have some other things, but some ways to move a little more. So I won't say more about that because the next E in seeds is way more important. And that is eat right. And I'm not going to tell, I'm not an expert. I did change my life and I've seen others change, but a couple of things that might be inspiring for everybody out there. A doctor said to me, David, you want to drive a junker or you want to drive a Ferrari? Because we put different fuel in a Ferrari. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we started talking about what that looks like. And he also said something that's kind of fun. He said, by the way, David, you can't outrun a cheeseburger. And I said, well, what do you mean by that?
Hashtag.
Yeah. So here's what he meant. He said, okay, the thing is that let's look at the top cheeseburger beyond Wendy's right now. The whole meal at that time with the fries and everything. Actually, that whole meal with a full big Coke and everything was 2,200 calories, more than I should eat in a day. One meal. He said, you can't outrun that. You get on the treadmill for, let's say an hour, you might burn 500 calories, 700 calories. You can't outrun and who has an hour? So, I'm 45 minutes or something. So I had to say, okay, I can't outrun that. Then he said, okay, I want to give you these 5 bowling balls. Just try holding them because I couldn't hold them. So this is what you're carrying everywhere you go. And so, a few analogies to think, but basically for me, you got to eating right. And most people know what to do. But for me, I don't, I try to eat 5 green vegetables a day. You can see right here, I got my celery I'm eating right at my desk because if I eat enough celery, I don't eat a lot of other stuff. I still have ice cream. There's certain things I'm not going to give up for people that know me. But figure out what you will do. There's certain things you could let go of. Like, you know what? I don't love that much. I could go that so I can enjoy this. So eat right. The D stands for drink water. We all need more of it. Almost all of us. I'm at least 1.5 gallons a day.
I love it. Props.
Yeah, there you go. And there's a lot more we could say about that. Most people walk through the days in America dehydrated and drinking everything but water. The S stands for source of strength. And I'm not here to argue what you should believe in or not, but I will tell you in walking with and sitting next to leaders of countries and companies, what I've found is people that don't have a source of strength beyond their work, they're worse at work. I don't care if it's faith for you. I care, but it was faith, family, friendships. If you don't have something beyond yourself, and to this point, since we're a little bit sportsy here on your show, I remember, growing up, Minnesota, you got the Vikings, so you always have to have a different team to cheer for because Minnesota, you don't have anybody that actually ever makes it to the end in any sport. Never won a Super Bowl, never won a championship basketball, never won,
The North
hockey.
Stars made it to the end.
Hockey, yeah, and whenever we do get good, we sell. Like, okay, let's give you the Stars to Dallas. Okay, let's give you this. Let's give you the Lakers. Oh, now the Lakers can become good. Not when they're like Minnesota's team where all the lakes are. Let's give them to California. I mean, they get better later. So, in any case, my team in the 80s, kind of growing up, 70s, my other team, Dallas Cowboys. You remember legendary coach Tom Landry?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
National television. I'll never forget this. Young reporter takes a microphone, sticks it in his face. And this young reporter, you remember, those of you that don't, Tom Landry, he was fedora, he was tie, he was gentleman, he was class on stage and off. And that young reporter said, "What is wrong with you, Tom Landry? All the other coaches, when they win, they're all excited when they interview. When they lose, they swear at me. They're all mad. But you're the same every time. You're just the same. Do you not have a pulse? Do you not care? What is wrong with you?" And Tom Landry looks down at this kid and he says, "I don't know. I think it might be because I have my priorities in order. For me, faith comes first, family after that, friends after that. If I lose on Sunday, I got a whole lot left over." And you're talking about one of the best coaches that ever's lived, and he had his priorities in order beyond football. It seems like people that are able to think beyond themselves in those ways actually are better at their work.
Yeah. I
Amazing.
love that.
Amazing.
Love that. What was your favorite trick as a magician?
Oh my goodness, where do you find this stuff? Like nobody knows. Nobody knows. So for all of you that are listening, I used to produce illusion shows, halftimes of NBA games. Nobody knows this. Like, in fact, this is funny. My closest friends are like, "Yeah, and Eric Bam." That's why he's Eric Bam. Okay, so I said, my friends will say, "Oh, you used to deceive people for a living. Now you talk about trust."
I was gonna ask that.
Yeah. There's several things. We used to, we did a quick change routine in the middle of sports arenas that was kind of fascinating. It was very unique at the time. Lisa was in different outfits in a second, over and over and over. We did some other things. My favorite, probably still though, is right in your hand. It's a little routine, but I call it the 2-coin trick. And it's a really fun, but it takes some work. And one like it is there's a card trick I do that I was trained by one of the best illusion teachers in the world. And it's very unknown. Like everybody says, "Oh, pick a card, find a card." This is with a regular deck, an incredibly little known secret of finding a card that they shuffled. It feels miraculous. So those two are maybe a couple of my favorites.
Cool.
Amazing.
I want a serious question. One of the things I read that you had said was, when someone's watching a speaker, within 8 seconds, they'll look at their phone and wonder when they're going to be done. Am I saying that wrong, or it's something like that? How do you combat that as a speaker?
Well, I don't know if I said that exactly or not. I've said a lot of things, and I know there are a couple hundred videos on me, and evidently there's still stuff around magic and 4-H. So I have no idea exactly what I said on that moment, but I definitely do. We have an attention span deprived culture. And there are things that win. Authenticity wins, as an example. I want to be the same on stage and off stage. People see me. That's one of the great compliments. Like, "Hey, you're the same guy on stage and off. You'll talk to me. You're not this, whatever." There's all kinds of different things around that. But I will say, whether I'm speaking in front of 10,000 people or 10 people, the first few seconds matters. And frankly, today, every second matters. Wasting people's minutes, there's so many places attention can go. So, being valuable to them. I think if I was going to tell speakers something, it'd be the question, ask the question, what matters to them? Now, it turns out I use humor. I use obviously the research is important, all these things, but that's only if it serves them. Frankly, there are people that are learning to be funny in ways that are groaners, that actually they lose trust with on the platform. So it's using those things that actually serve your audience, which frankly, people want humor. They want authenticity, but they also want, here's another idea for anybody. They want takeaways they can use tomorrow morning. The most motivating idea is not from someone that climbed Mount Everest or played it pro in the NFL, because I'm not doing that. The most motivating idea is an idea I can use tomorrow morning to help me do better with my sales, leadership, family, or whatever.
Well, all right. Well, let me run down this rabbit hole then, because I love what you just said. Because I'm very much that way. If I'm reading something right now, I'm listening to Selling by Serving by Clancy Clark, and it's phenomenal, right? And there are a couple of things as I'm listening to it when I'm walking that I'm like, I need this right now. So when you're speaking, are there like 2 or 3 bullets like throughout when you're speaking that you're like, this is something you should act on, or is that something you consciously think about as you go into a talk?
I absolutely think about takeaways. I'll give you my framework for speaking in general for what I do. So some would say I'm the most researched on trust and leadership, at least out of North America. We put out one of the biggest studies and all that. In my frame of thinking, I want to first get buy-in. Okay. That's the why. Then I want to give the basic how. In my world, that's a framework, the 8-pillar framework, 8 pillars of trust, because that gives a common language based in research, revalidated by outside universities, all this stuff for solving their issues. And then we want to give them, depending on how much time we have, at least a couple takeaways they can use tomorrow morning. But I do take them through that journey, whether it's my first speech to Congress, which was 7 minutes, and then I got more, or it's a full day executive day. I have to get buy-in first, because here's the problem. Back when I started the grad work on trust and everything, people thought it was a soft skill. I had to get buy-in and show, look, trust is bigger than you think. You think it's just just transparency. No, it's not. Some of your kids are so transparent on Facebook, I don't trust them for a second. It's also confidentiality. It takes a long time to build trust. In a crisis like 9/11, complete strangers trust each other like that if they're running the same direction. I just need to shift their thinking. I need to show how trust affects the bottom line. What do you mean it affects the bottom line? Well, okay, let's not do the research. Let's take a lock, right? Stories are a good way to simplify the complex. A lock, why is that a representation of a lack of trust? Because the only reason you buy a lock is because you don't trust someone. What's the cost? I got to buy the lock. That's money. But I got to open it. That's time, especially if it's a combination lock, right? So, okay, I can see that. What about tweeting or texting someone you trust? How long does that take? Boop, like that. How long does it take to text someone you don't trust? Oh, how are you going to do it forevermore? So all of a sudden they're like, I can see there's a cost. So I got to get through that. Then I got to get to the framework so they understand the language. Then I'm going to give them takeaways. So I do have to buy-in first. And I'm happy to get to the framework or get to takeaways, but I'll share everything I've written anywhere with your, audience.
You're wired up. I love this. This is not the David that was on with Joe Soto. Joe's kind of mellow. Joe's kind of, this is a whole new but Tim, the question.
I think it's the normal me, but I hope I'm authentic either way. Maybe I was a little, I don't know.
So David, I know you must have it right there. Hold your book up. All right. So I want everyone to see it. All right. So, you talked about the 8 pillars, right? So here's a couple questions, a two-parter. Why do leaders in organizations fail, in your opinion? And how do you rebuild trust within an organization and even personally? Can you give some advice to our audience for that?
Okay. Hey, bro, I'm one question at a time. I can't, I got to remember this. All right. So first of all, if you're not going to let me share the 8 pillars, that's the first one. You got to share. It's the 8 pillars. That's why people fail or not. And second question is, under one of those pillars, basically you're asking, how do people rebuild trust? Okay. How do they rebuild it? Sure. Now we have a 10-step process. If you're in a big company or you're a big company that just had an oil spill, but whether you're a big company or an individual, rebuilding trust comes down to one thing, and I'll teach it right here. It's not the apology. People think it's the apology. It never is. Now, I'm not saying you don't need to apologize because a mistake's made or whatever to open the door of communication, but you don't rebuild it on that. People think they apologize and they're good. CEO from the Netherlands came to America. He'd been here a couple of weeks. I said, hey, what's the first thing you notice in America? He said, you want to know the truth, David? I said, yeah. He said, in America, you guys got a bunch of lying apologizers. They all said they're sorry and they don't mean it. He said, yeah. I said, I got this guy over here. He says he's sorry he's late every day. I'm sorry I'm late. No, you're not. You're late every day. So I'm not saying you don't need to apologize, but I am saying this. You want to rebuild trust in any way, You have to make and keep a new commitment. It is the only way to rebuild trust. Make and keep a new commitment. So that's that answer. I'll jump backwards so that we do have the framework, and that is how you lose or build trust is these 8 components. So they're denoted by C words. That's not to be some cheesy motivational book. That they're representing kind of research funnels. Okay, that the C words give clarity to the funnel of research. So here they are. Number 1, and you could talk about each of these for all day, but you can, if we have these, we can frame against them, and I'll tell you what I mean. The first is clarity. People trust the clear and they mistrust or distrust the ambiguous or the overly complex, right? People think they're clear when they're not. Number 2 is compassion. We trust those that care beyond themselves. I don't want to follow someone or be accountable to someone if they don't care beyond themselves. Number 3 is character. We trust those that do what's right or what's easy. We have a way to build this into organization. But let me just say to the lie that people think, I got every character's all done by 12 years old. No. You can change character. And by the way, many organizations are incentivizing against the very character they want to see. Character isn't everything, because number 4 is important. I can trust Tim because of his character to take my kids to the ball game and not trust him to give me a root canal because he's not competent or capable. You've got to, if you're selling or leading the way you were 10 years ago, I don't trust you. You've got to stay fresh and relevant and capable. Next pillar is commitment. We trust those that stay committed in the face of adversity. Commitment breeds commitment. There's a whole lot we could say about this. But you think of anybody who's left a legacy, a mom, a dad, a teacher, Mandela, Martin Luther King, Jesus, or Joan of Arc. They've stayed committed to something beyond themselves, and they're trusted for it. The next pillar is connection, the ability to connect and collaborate with others, this willingness to connect and collaborate. You guys are really good at that, obviously. Siloing would be a counterforce of this pillar in a big company. Next pillar is contribution. The first word that came out of this funnel was results. We trust those that contribute results. You got to get results. Hey, you could have compassion as a surgeon. We go in for amputation, cut off the wrong arm. We got a problem. You got to give me the results I expected or asked for. So you got to contribute results, and you have to have all 8 of these. And the final pillar is consistency. Sameness is trusted. If you just have character when the lights are on, that's not character. If you have just compassion, with people you like, that's not compassion. If you're late all the time, I will in fact trust you to be late. So, by the way, when you put all these together, you get this thing we call a trusted leader or the trust edge. And the cool thing about the new book is the first half is a story that shifts thinking about trust. The second half is the 8 pillars that have been validated, but it's takeaways they can use tomorrow morning. The ODC method for clarity, the how method, the trust shield, these ways of applying this tomorrow. But one more thing, and I'm not being a good interviewer because I'm going here because I usually go back and forth, but I want people to just see trust a little bit bigger here and a little differently. These 8 pillars, without ego, but work on 6 continents, and we have certified coaches on 6 continents. While we do have to contextualize, it is always a function. Every issue is always one of these 8. This is why I wrote this book. Trust is always the root issue. It's not a leadership issue, a sales issue, a marketing issue. The only way to amplify a marketing message is increase trust in the message. The only way to increase innovation. So people are solving the wrong issue. What do I mean? In companies, they'll say, well, we got an engagement issue. Well, the problem is the only way to increase engagement is not with more engagement. The only way is to increase trust. Yeah. The only way to, what about net promoter score? Well, we've got a referral issue. The only way to increase referrals, our research keeps showing it, not more referrals, more trust. That equals more referrals. Or how about this one? People will say this all the time to me. David, we've got a communication issue. Ladies and gentlemen, you never, ever, ever at the core have a communication issue. Ever. Communication is happening all the time.
Yeah.
Look at the pillars. Clear communication is trusted. Unclear isn't. Compassionate communication is trusted. Hateful isn't. Consistent communication is trusted. Inconsistent isn't. So when you can define it against these, you can actually solve the real issue. I'm passionate about it. We've seen it triple sales for people. We've seen it save marriages. So and by the way, it changed me. So I'm pretty passionate about it.
That's great.
You forgot the very rare, untalked about 9th pillar that starts with C, which is cheese pizza. I just thought I'd mention that. When was the last time you had a fresh strawberry pie?
Oh my! I don't even. Where do you find this stuff? I don't know, but I love fresh strawberry pie. Got one?
I know it's your mom's, right?
Oh man! And you know what goes on the bottom? You know what the secret is? I'm going to tell the secret to everybody. Other than fresh strawberries, not from the wherever that are this big and tasteless. I mean the little yummy, amazing ones. But on the bottom, with homemade crust, which is different.
Okay.
If anybody hasn't,
Oh, totally different.
here's the secret: a thin layer. Of course, you got to have ice cream, by the way, with every dessert. But under this, on the very underneath, just a thin layer, not some big thick one, thin layer of cream cheese.
Ooh,
under
right.
under the
I'm down with
strawberry.
cream cheese too.
Yeah. Let me tell you, it's one of the.
That would be also a C. Just
cream cheese. David, I like to ask a lot of guests when they're on, what are you insecure about?
Oh man, so I think one challenge for me is when I started this, Lisa and I, if you don't know the whole story, we moved back to Minnesota. We lived. I didn't say this yet to you guys did. So we moved. We had no money. 1999. I had been director of a youth and family organization in Arkansas, and we moved back to Minnesota and using our leadership work, and miracles happened later. But we lost everything almost three times, I think. Almost lost everything. But that start, we put everything we had into this business. We had $1.40 to our name by October. 60 cents in the home account, 80 cents in the business account. We found the place to live for about half the price of any other apartment. It was 86-year-old Clara Miller's home in her basement. And by the way, it didn't have a bathroom, a kitchen, or windows. And we didn't know that was illegal, thankfully, because we lived there for 2 years. It did come with black mold on the walls. Most people wouldn't do this. Right. But we could go upstairs and share her bathroom. We could go upstairs and share her kitchen. We did it for 2 years. The day we moved out, there was 2 inches of water in the basement. But I think, I had a very secure childhood. By God's grace, we've been blessed beyond belief. We have zero debt these days. We have, zero homes, cars, whatever. We live in a place that we get to share with others that has horses and a lake and whatever, just beyond what we could have imagined. But I don't know if this is the question. I'll share anything. I'm trying to think if this is answering the insecurity question, but it is answering an issue. And that is, as much as I talk about and believe trusting in God, as much as I've seen, I don't have reasons to be fearful. I can go back to that basement quickly and about the future. Because by the way, it was 2 more times that I lost everything before we had a quite significant tipping point starting in about January of 2010, 2009. Like the first decade was tough. So it's one of the issues of, I got to let go and have a little more faith, and we've got more than we can. But I can definitely have sometimes fear-based come in that I hate to see happen.
That basement is a good motivator for you then?
Yeah, a lot of. By the way, to everybody out there, fear can be a very good thing. I mean, it is people that think fear is bad. That's ridiculous. I mean, fear keeps us from walking across that street and getting slammed. Fear keeps us from doing a lot of stupid things. But there is a kind of fear that can be inappropriate and squelching in certain ways to joy, to life, to all kinds of things. Yeah.
I love it.
So David, I'm thrilled that you're a man of faith. That's amazing. And I was listening to something that I don't know if you mind telling a short portion of this story about when you were a kid and having a great childhood and growing up on a farm and your horse ride. Could you tell us a little bit about the horse who made you feel grateful?
Well, I'm not sure which story for sure, but I'll tell you one. Hopefully this is the right one. I talk about the horses and growing up, but I thought you might have been asking about my dad or some other story. But here's
your father is in the story. He was a quarter mile away.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at 12 years old, I loved riding horse. I mean, I got this horse, just kind of got it trained. This neighbor helped train it. Neighbor means 6 miles away. For those that don't, grew up 8 miles from the nearest town of 500 people. So a lot of times, actually, I would ride bareback, and I could just put the rope right around the kind of the neck, and I could go on this horse. And the first part of this is I love to go fast. I loved to go fast. So Dad would be on the dirt road beside me, and he was okay with risk. Like Mom didn't know always about all this stuff, right? So I was at a flat run, and he'd have the window down, 25 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get, Secretariat, here we come. Anyway, I was flat run, but this one day he was not, that was kind of how it was sometimes. This day, he was up on the irrigator. So irrigation, the center pivots, they water maybe 180 acres or 130 acres at a time. So you're up off the field if you don't know what this is. And he was working on an irrigator, like you said, quarter mile away. So I was going across the alfalfa field, and I was like, I'm going to go flat run. However, a couple things that you need to know about this. One is I was in a saddle that day. Think of a saddle with stirrups. Okay. Stirrups are where you put your feet, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Then, the alfalfa was this high. And if you're just listening, it was maybe, 8 inch, a foot high, let's say, beautiful, foliagey, green, high grade alfalfa, just gorgeous across this about 150 acre field. But the irrigation pipe was just about 4 inches lower. Okay. So even a good horse can get startled or trip. I'm at a flat run across that field. I forgot where the irrigation pipe was. And at a flat run, that horse sees the pipe. Like if you ever have a horse that sees a snake is not a good situation for a horse. Okay. They get startled. That horse can stop on a dime. Bam. What do? Fly head over tea kettle, except for one problem. A stirrup, my foot went through the stirrup, my left foot. And so, in fact, my dad up in where he grew up in North Dakota had actually taught us to keep our heels down in the stirrups because he had a neighbor get drug home dead this way exactly that I'm talking about.
I take back all my laughing.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, we all laugh, but this is true. So now what you're supposed to do is wear cowboy boots. I was this jock that still liked horses. So I was wearing basketball shoes all the time. I loved playing basketball, even though we lost all the time. So my foot went right through that stirrup. That horse took off. And the problem is even a good horse can start to not just, they don't like it when you're kind of one leg is dragging and you're pulling the saddle around the belly. And so it started doing what you call crowhopper bucking. And I'm getting drug across this field. Thankfully, it's alfalfa, so it's not a bunch of rocks where you could pull your head, hit your head. Nowadays they wear helmets and craziness. It's like, of course, we didn't have any of that. I sometimes, by the way, before then went barefoot. I mean, it was ridiculous. I once had a horse.
How are you still alive?
I had a horse step on me barefoot, and I had this red ring just on my foot. It didn't break my foot, but anyway. So this is fun because I don't talk about any of this stuff. Anyway, so anyway, in a moment that horse, for some reason, my foot it slipped out, and the kind of the moral that I think of, I was scared to death. My heart's throbbing, but I'm just like, I'm alive. I can't believe this. I'm still here. And at least one of the lessons is, my dad saw this happen, and of course he worried about me, but he kind of started walking toward me. And I got up and I was fine, and he could see I was fine. And as we got closer, there's something you need to know about horses. You can ruin a horse if you let it buck and win, or you let it run. They call them runaways. If you ever have a runaway with a buggy or something, you have to stay on because otherwise you ruin the horse. They think they can run away anytime. Right. And I knew when he got up, he never said anything. He just looked at me. And I knew what I had to do. I was shaking. I was 12 years old, shaking everywhere. And he looked at me, and I had a tear come down my eyes, and I didn't say anything. I knew what I had to do. And the horse just stood there, and I walked over to the horse, shaking the whole time. You got to get back on the horse. And I pulled myself back up on that horse, and I walked that horse home, and I got off, still shaking. But that was the message that I knew, Dad, you got to get back on the horse. And there's a message to that for all of us. You got to get back on the horse.
Great story. Great story.
So I'm always curious with authors. You write the Daily Edge, right? Then you have the Trusted Edge.
Trust Edge, not Trusted, just Trust Edge. And then that was out of my grad work and all the trust work. Daily Edge became a it was like this productivity book. I never wanted to be a productivity expert, but I found in all those productivity books in the 80s, they were like 400 pages long. I got 100 pages in. There's no tips on productivity. It's like, so this is right from the get-go, 3-page tips on being more productive, but not at the expense of relationships.
Well, you've got your the Trusted Leader podcast is available on the Audible app. I use the Audible app for books, or for reading and listening as I'm walking. But do you, like, when you write your first book, when's the moment you're like, A, I'm going to do this, and B, are you like scared to death, or is it a freak out moment? What's that like as an author?
I'll tell you, I don't know. Anybody can write them faster than me. I'll tell you that for sure.
Not Sean Woodcock.
I hear people go, just boom. So that first book, it's an interesting, different story. Early in 2000s, my grad work, it became interesting. These people are like, oh, this is really powerful. This is all this stuff. And so I started writing the book, and then I basically wasn't speaking much, and a bunch of other things happened, and I was in line for this possible CEO role, pretty young, but I got down to the last 2 of 170. I didn't get it, and I got this. And finally, Lisa and I are at a coffee shop, and we're upside down and backwards in debt. And she said, "You've been talking about this. You're supposed to do it." We got like, I don't know, we had 4 kids, 5 and under. I mean, it was ridiculous. And she said, "Just write the book. Just write it." And I said, "I feel like if I just focus every day, 12 hours a day for 2 months, I think I'll get it done." And 2 years later, and 53 edits later, and a self-published copy later, 5 of the big 6 in New York won it, and I get the biggest publishing deal of a non-celebrity from Simon & Schuster that year.
Wow.
Well, not to talk too much about you, but like, how far out of your league is Lisa? Like, she's way out of your league, dude.
Totally. You got to meet her sometime. We should do a marriage episode, and we'll talk about, hey, here's the wisdom of me. If you want to know,
that's a marriage episode.
I'll tell you what. If the way people can see that I actually have some wisdom, this limited amount, is just by my choice in marriage.
Yeah,
that's or God's grace, or God saying, okay, this one really needs a lot of help. We're going to take one of our best and put her with him.
Talk about your kids for a second, if you could.
Yeah, you got 4 of them, right?
4 kids, man. I tell you what. First of all, let me say this: I believe in this trust work. I'm passionate about it. I live it completely imperfectly. I know it's true from the research, but it is difficult. And if you haven't had a hard time building trust yet, get teenagers. It's something else. They're amazing. I love them. They're just incredible. All 4 of them. Each of them are different, super different. But they're so my oldest just headed to college here. She is amazing, faith-filled young lady. The next oldest is really brilliant on the engineering side of things. We're all kinds of things there. My next oldest, the daughter, so it goes girl, boy. But she's a creative. You can't see her without a spring in her step, dancing around. The next one is Micah. He is the most, he's naturally athletic, naturally happy, and naturally encouraging and sensitive. So that's the 4. There's a lot of stories I could tell there, but I'm grateful for them, and they make me better. There's a lot of ways they have over the years, for sure. But yeah.
I've got a few last questions, and I clearly can tell that if I ask you a question, you can talk. So
sorry about that. I'll try.
No, it's great. These are short. Like, just hit me with your answer. Pete Rose, Hall of Fame. Yeah, no, yes or no? It's that, like, this. I know what you want to do right now. You want to just go on. Yes,
I do want to go.
He can't do it. He can't.
I can't do
Next
it.
question: Friends or Seinfeld?
Oh my goodness, you're killing me. This is like the years. This is the college years. First of all, let me say this: I did not watch TV hardly ever growing up. Okay. I hadn't watched any. I didn't watch, but those would be kind of a tie. But I suppose I would say Seinfeld.
Okay, old country or new country?
Old.
Coolest person you ever met? besides Tim?
Shit.
Well, man, there's a lot of them. I will say someone that I'm going to be talking to on Friday. Ken Blanchard. In our world, there's a lot of people that talk about trust, and there's a lot of, or just about learning and development, and there's a lot of people that are different on stage than they are off stage. And Ken is a giver, and he's the same guy on stage and off stage. He's been a friend. He's one of the people on the back of the book, but I'll say he's one that people might know that I would say that's someone in many ways.
I've got just a couple left.
Okay.
Favorite Twins baseball player all time? You can't answer anything.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I
love it.
Those World Series years were so fun for someone like me.
I thought for sure
I
gotta
say Puckett.
Yeah, Puckett. There you go. There you go.
No, I had him.
Favorite Britney Spears song?
But Gladden was good too. I could not name a Britney Spears song.
Wes is the president of the Ohio Britney Spears fan club, and so
we'll defer. I did have all the baseball players. I mean, Herbeck and Gladden, and that's hard. But Puckett will have to be number one.
All right, I got 2 questions left. I saw the photo of you wearing a Hogs hat, making pancakes. Can you bring in the hogs? Did you ever do that? Or no? Okay. And my last question.
The Razorback, they were kind enough to help me out.
How ironic that I had this question written down and you just mentioned him. How can we get Ken Blanchard on the Penalty Box Live?
Well, I might be able to do something about that.
We don't have a checkbook, so it's
Oh no, he's unbelievable. He has got a protection wall up because he has so many asks. But
I bet. Hey, I just want to say thank you for being on. I kind of went old school and laminated a gold card, and I've got some work stuff on one side. On the other side, I've got read a book a month, and I'm finishing Clancy Clark's book. He's in our mastermind group, and his book is phenomenal. By the way, we sell a lot alike, I think. And so your book will be starting tomorrow because I'm almost done with his. So I'm excited about reading it. And thank you for being on today. It was awesome.
Thank you both very much. This was a whole lot of fun.
Thank you.
Timmy, you got any last questions?
You got all mine. I did have one. I'm a big Horns band fan. Chicago or Earth, Wind and Fire?
You just picked the wrong thing for me.
Dude, you on Facebook, you have one music reference, and it's a band that is a Chicago tribute band.
I did. What do I reference? What do I reference?
I don't know. See, that's why I don't go last.
The interesting
man. Well, I'll tell you what, it's okay. Yeah. Sorry to be a. This is one problem of my childhood. I'm getting caught up in some ways, but I read, but I never watch TV hardly ever, and I still hardly ever watch. And same with listening to. I love listening to music, but I don't know what it is. But my family.
Okay, here's my real last question. What's the biggest trout you ever caught?
I've caught some big trout.
I have face light up.
I'll tell you what. If you want to go fly fishing, anybody wants to take me fly fishing, that's a real good way to get free consulting if you care, because man, I don't even know how big, but I've got lots of pictures of big.
See, I trusted him until now.
No, I mean, I have.
He's like, it was this big.
You can't even see my hands.
Who do we? David could talk for 2 hours. Who do we have on next week, Tim? David, don't go anywhere yet.
So next week we have the bass player to the '80s hair band Extreme, a gentleman named Pat Badger, great guy, lives here in the Boston area. I'm a friend of his girlfriend, great guy. So looking forward to talking rock and roll with him.
Awesome. I wonder if we could sing like a little, few songs with him or something.
More than words, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Right.
Yeah. Well, David, this has been awesome. Guys, shout out to the Woodstock Inn and Brewery, our sponsor. They're awesome. And there's only one thing left to do, Tim.
Before you do that thing, I can't wait. I can't wait till we're a part of the Trust Edge the Trusted Coach Challenge.
Forget that.
That's going to be fun.
How did we forget that?
It's all right. Now do your cool thing.
All right. See you
Well,
guys
you have
later.
to
Come
do it
on,
too.
David. You too.